Well, welcome to another edition of Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. We are live, we are back. We have been away for a couple of weeks because our producer Sam has been living it up in Ibiza and on the yachts and Monaco. But listen, there's breaking rugby league news, and I say this is breaking rugby league news, Craig, Jimmy, Joe. It's actually seismic. It's massive for me. It's massive for the sport because Ralph Rimmer, Karen Moorhouse, they are going to stand down from the Rugby Football League. This broke earlier today. I'll read the press release that has come from the RFL. Ralph Rimmer is to stand down as Chief Executive of the Rugby Football League at the end of this year. He will have served more than 12 years with the governing body, having joined as Chief Operating Officer in October 2010 and taken over as CEO from Nigel Wood in January 2018. Karen Moorhouse, who has been the other executive director on the Rugby Football League board alongside Ralph and Simon Johnson and Tony Sutton since 2018, will also stand down in December. Karen has been with the RFL slightly longer than Ralph, since 2008 when she joined as compliance manager, and then before working her way up the RFL pyramid system. But look, this is massive, massive news. This is massive news in terms of who is going to replace Ralph Rimmer, who is going to replace Karen Moorhouse. The RFL and IMG are currently working on appointing new leadership. Interesting phrase there, new leadership to govern and lead the direction of the sport of rugby league. Before we get your thoughts on it, and we're going to talk a little bit about this in IMG, can I just say, Ralph Rimmer, goodbye. Karen Moorhouse, goodbye. We're all friends. I'm sure we'll have a pint and we'll have a laugh about this, but yes, goodbye.
Mick, that voice reminds me of the famous 1 million views. Ralph Rimmer, Karen, he's, how do you feel? I'm actually a bit emotional for this. We know your friendship with both of them, Mick. You know,
listen,
people, let me just finish on this. People rumoured, when you used to kid and say, I'm having a 5-course meal at the grand final, I'm at this, you actually was having that, and I'm going to stick up for Mick, because I didn't know all these years that were true. There is a friendship. It's a sorry day for rugby league, for yourself, Michael, because you've been, you criticised them at times, but I think they've treated you with a bit of respect. So what's your thoughts, Mick? Are you all right?
I'm all right. I think this has been coming, if I am brutally honest. We know from when COVID times hit, Ralph, Karen, they addressed the clubs. Money is tight. Clubs are going to have to feel the pinch. Ralph said there is not enough room for him and somebody from the Super League. I'm led to believe the Super League are also going to be clearing out. So your Rodris, your other people at the Super League organisation, they're going to be going as well. So this is almost like we've had the split. Some have gone to the RFL, some have gone to the Super League. Realignment has occurred in some form, and now we've got the CEO, Ralph Rimmer, leaving, Karen Moorhouse, and we're going to have departures from the Super League side. Ralph, as you say, Craig, a good friend of mine. We stay in regular contacts. Karen, less so, but again, I class her as a friend. You know, when you go to the grand finals, you go to the Challenge Cup finals, you see him, you smile. You know, when we did the Rob Burrow walk from Odsall, Ralph was there, Karen was driving past and smiling and waving. So, yes, the video, as I said, wasn't a true reflection of myself. It was very emotional, and I try to challenge everybody to put yourself in my spot on that day when you've got commentary equipment stolen, your father's ashes are on the pitch, and Andrew Chalmers has decided, let's have a piss up and a party, and there's people throwing vodka bottles and cans on, people's ashes that are on the pitch, and then you've also got the situation where you're losing your spiritual home, or you're believing you're losing your spiritual home. This is not defending my actions, but it was extenuating circumstances. And then you've got the bailiffs turning up, and Chalmers has basically said at midnight, this is all getting handed over to the RFL, let's leave them with nothing, and it's a free bar, and obviously it's just a free-for-all, and the party starts. But look, this is big news for the sport of rugby league, because you've got Ralph and Karen, Craig, who've been there for over a decade. This is change. New ideas are coming. Clearly, something has gone on behind the scenes. I know the clubs have not been happy for a number of years, and I do feel this is more of a pushing than Ralph and Karen deciding we need to go. I think they'll try and save face, and the reaction from social media already, I've not seen one positive comment, which is a shame because, you know, you speak to Ralph, he grew up in Barrow where they met the nuclear submarines, you know, Ralph is a rugby league man. Regardless of what you think about his leadership and his tenure at the RFL, within the RFL organisation, you know, Ralph cares deeply and passionately about the sport of rugby league. But this direction now we're going with IMG is uncharted waters, Craig, because somebody new outside the sport is going to be coming in. They are going to be effectively starting with a clean slate. And we know with IMG informing the clubs, licensing coming back, we know on Wednesday the 28th of this month, there's the big meeting, the special AGM in Manchester at the RFL's new headquarters, where their clubs are going to be told this is what is happening. We know next week is when IMG deliver to the RFL the blueprint, the document, with their proposal on how rugby league is going to be revolutionised, changed, you know. But look, this is big news because you're losing effectively the CEO and obviously his right-hand lady in Karen Moorhouse.
It's a bit of a shock, that one, Mick. I think if IMG have looked and they have seen things that are, you know, not right, I didn't think they'd have the power to implement removing, you know, the CEO. And I suggest, and it's only my opinion, it had been talked about with the clubs. If Karen and Ralph between them are on £500,000 and they think, well, we can save £500,000 by putting it back together as one, with the advisory role of the IMG in this, you'll hear an announcement that there'll be a new CEO of this new thing. That's what'll happen. They will bring somebody in to appease very quickly. So if it's not Robert Elston, as it was, it's not Ralph Rimmer, they'll bring somebody in to lead the new way, and this will have to be somebody with leadership qualities. Social media times now, Mickey's going to have a pure background of whatever. It can't be, you know, the shady waters, this type of thing. So it'd be interesting. I didn't think they'd have the power. The only people I know have got that power are probably, let's be honest, 3 or 4 of the clubs.
Yeah, you gather it.
So they would have to be right behind this, I would say, because there'd be such an outcry from them. I hope we do get the right leadership. I hope IMG advisory role is to take away the power from the clubs. That's not helped us when you're voting for yourself and your selfish reasons for doing things. We've got to find this leader, we've got to find this organisation that everybody trusts. We know it's going to franchise, it has to do because it's going to save the game, in my opinion. It'll be interesting how they do the franchise historically 10 years ago when it happened. Some of them rules were going in to suit certain agendas. If we ever get do you understand that one? So the original post that come out to us as clubs at that time, I were at Doncaster, it looked to me they were trying to get Celtic Crusaders in. There were some agendas in there that were like, wow, why's that gone? And you have to have a certain this, you have to have a generic area from, you know, from another club. It were just done. If they're going to do one this time, let's do it straight and honest. And for the direction of this game, we're at a pivotal point. We're into the World Cup, Mick. The sales are great at the moment. We're hearing the sales are getting, everyone's slaughtered them. But I've heard the last few weeks it's picked up. We'll get momentum. We've got a chance after World Cup. Listen, can we win it? I don't think so. We hope we can. If we can get in that final and get around them big games, it's great for the game of rugby league coming into next year. If they time this announcement and say, this is the thing I think they're going to have struggle, Mick, is whatever they put in place 24, it'll be the damage what happens in 23. That's my worry. So just to break that down is, in 24, if they say franchise, what happens if you're a club who don't get a franchise? Are you really going to play next year? I can't see it. I cannot see 6 clubs who know they're getting sent to the amateur game wanting to put a year in unless there's a...
But that's where it's going to be down to the weighting, isn't it? If the weighting is, you know, X amount for do you have an academy, X amount for geographical growth, if the big weighting is where you finish in 2023, everyone's going to go hell for leather. And that's the key, isn't it? That's what the clubs need to know.
But how do they do that without wanting the clubs? Franchising, Jim, means that they want the clubs really, they want the ones they don't.
Correct.
If you keep it a competition, you still allow them 6 clubs that they and Jim can make. We don't need these.
They almost have to make the clubs believe that their performance is going to matter a lot, and whether when it comes to it. I mean, when we did the applications for the Super League spot last time, they did some. It was a similar thing, wasn't it? There were, at the time we were saying there was a big thing that it almost made it look like they wanted Bradford in, because we were talking about what is your historical success in the game.
Oh, we're ridiculous.
So and again, it was obviously targeting certain clubs.
100%.
Now this time, they need to make it very clear before a ball's kicked, or even now with recruitment. But how do they do it?
I just don't want next year.
Yeah.
To go into calamity, because everyone's building for the year after, and if we can get things in place that takes a year to get right, brilliant. But they're going to leave it late. If they announce it on mixed date, September 28th,
Wednesday the 28th of September.
Let's
that's
say
D-Day.
Let's do it simple. Let's just say they've done this because they're bringing a new organisation in, they're bringing a new man in, they're bringing this new, and this one team's going to go in and say this is the delivery with the. They can use the IMG to make any call you want now, because there's a little bit of something there that you can't directly put on Nigel Wood or Ralph Rimmer with advice from IMG. These will be a corporate £1 billion business.
Faceless.
You can't go for individuals at IMG. You've no chance. Yeah. It'll be that big of a concern. So our sport can't go. It's Joe Harrison. It's him who's done it.
No, I agree.
It actually gives a buffer for whatever they do. This is time now, but I still find next year I'd hate to have World Cup and all be on an eye. And then they come out with this competition, which means which means Jack in 1, Jack in 2, and Super League just rolls. Do you understand?
No, I understand. Yeah, the issue is, I think a lot of clubs are already seeing it that way. I think you're saying now what clubs are already thinking. As you speak to a lot of clubs, there's some that are literally putting the cap spend on. Not 0, but obviously, effectively, they're not trying for next year.
They think they're guaranteed a franchise.
Either guaranteed a franchise, or they're just saving money because they've got no chance. I think a lot of them have already putting that in place with the players they're signing, with the money they're spending. It's going one way or the other, and sadly, I think that's already been done, Dad. So, going off what you said, I think the next thing would be how do you reverse that? Because it's already been them steps are already in place.
So let's say Keighley are going to spend big budget next year.
Yeah.
Well, they are spending.
Are they Keighley, and then in there? Let me scenario. I'm Keighley. We're spending big money because we think if we finish in top 8 next year, we're going to get a Super League B licence.
Correct.
Would Keighley, if there's 8 ticks, would they be in the 8 ticks if it weren't for a competition?
No, yeah, because they're spending loads in the youth. They've got. I hope I can say that they've got plans to make an academy. They've got a big youth community system.
Keighley are a very progressive club.
They've got big links with even the rugby union clubs.
So whatever inkling they're getting, Keighley are thinking we need to be spending
box ticking
against this. Now let's say Doncaster. We can talk about Carl Hall. Let's talk about Carl Hall's Doncaster. We get a lot of mentions. So Carl's got the stadium. Carl's got history.
Backers.
Definitely got backers, led to believe that the football club and the people who own it, Doncaster, what they're called, would put the money in.
Doncaster,
So then Carl's only box he's got to tick would be
on field
to win the championship, would it? Because how many championship teams will, Mick, in your opinion, you're probably the best person to ask, how many Champ 1 teams will be given a franchise to Super League B if it's that one? How many?
Right. If we're being brutally honest...
Yeah, that's what the show was about. It's only our opinions, man.
No, I agree. So, like I've said, the RFL have said this, the clubs have been in the meetings, they've been shown the slides. The original plan was the 210s. Again, as I've said numerous times on the show, Craig, the original idea and plan, this might change now because IMG might twerk it, they might tweak it. Interestingly, in the fan survey, the 210s was in there.
Make it tell us off.
Sorry. The 210s was in there, which was an interesting question. I went straight to that because I thought it was so surreal. The 210s, because obviously IMG and the RFL are working together, and we know the RFL have been pushing the 210s. They believe that there's not enough teams for rugby league.
But how many champ ones? Back to my question.
In terms of who would go up this year, we know Keighley have gone up, and credit to Keighley. You've out of the current playoff teams of Oldham, Rochdale, Doncaster, North Wales and Swinton, I've got to be brutally honest, you've probably got a bit of a slight argument for Rochdale and Oldham. North Wales Crusaders, they'd have to tick the box because Colwyn Bay, you've got that ex sort of Liverpool market up there on that sort of North Wales coastline. Doncaster definitely would tick a box because of the stadium. For mine, if you were to put the Doncaster Stadium, the Keatmore, against anything in Super League and Championship, well, you'd have to. It's a top 10. It's a top 10
club than a stadium, mate.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that if we're going down the licensing route.
Facilities.
Craig, we're going down the licensing route. So I know you talk about academies, geographical location. Do they have an academy? Well, facilities has got to be in there because I know when the RFL showed the clubs as lines. Yeah.
But I think it'd be a key one because we
broadcast facilities.
Listen. Historically, and I'm probably the best person to say it. Historically, Doncaster have got everything other than not enough fans to want to watch a game of rugby. Even when we did that season. We peaked at 1,100, and to facilitate a stadium like that alone, forget about Super League. To facilitate a stadium like alone, I'm getting charged whatever it were a year, you've got to have at least. I think our break point were probably 4,000 something, 4,800 and whatever it was, and that we had to give a lot of our corporate away. So every time we sold we did 400 people in dining on a Sunday. We were giving $17.50 to the stadium for their food and their service, so it was very hard to run it based on any type of fans. So that'd be my worry. There is, would you ever? We all want Doncaster. God, my heart tell me love Doncaster. I'm just being probably common sense with a lot of these clubs. My first thing would be, if I was given the job to ask, I'd say, can you provenly attract? 4,000 minimum supporters if we give you a B licence and if we gave you, the backing of a 3-year umbrella. Can you build? What's the matter?
Listening.
Well, tell me.
No, I agree. I agree.
Would you give an umbrella to how many clubs would get that? And that's for us all to answer now. Let's have a bit of fun with it. If we got a 3-year umbrella, which clubs down from Super League would get 4,000 plus? Let's just do it on that because it gets too complicated. Bradford?
I think that is what we've been made aware of. The cameras showing the televised games, showing a nice stand with fans in is clearly for me their top thing. And I think you're right. I'd actually say Swinton are actually somewhere which what they do, they'd be right up there with the League One ones. But if a club can't get 4,000, which Keighley can, Keighley have proved this year they've had 2.5 there and 3. Keighley know that they can do that. I'm not sure.
Is that a dagger, Mick? Keighley being that?
Not at all. Listen, you know what? I'll say this now. What Keighley are doing is nothing short of exceptional, and long may it continue because they've been down in the doldrums, in my opinion, for too long. We know they share the same...
They've been your poor neighbours of the greats.
They're not my poor neighbours, but we know they share the same postcode as Bradford. And a strong Keighley spending probably more money than... Look, it's facts. Keighley are going to spend more money than Bradford.
Than half their champ.
It is what I've been told. You know what about these 4,000?
That's good news for the sport.
The other sport, let me tell you, very good. Could the others have time to amalgamate? So you just mentioned Swinton and Rochdale.
Yeah,
and I know this has been asked, Mick. I can't tell you how. This is the one thing I can share. It's been asked with the companies, could any of them merge? Yeah. So Donny Sheffield, would that be a possibility? Not now, because they've both got brand new
Cumbrian clubs.
So they've been built, that won't happen. I think that's massive. Yeah. If the Cumbrian clubs can put one. And listen, I don't want to involve in all the historical arguments, but if you think logically now, there is certain clubs that could, if they wanted in, and somebody came to you and said, look, you can get in if you amalgamate with your neighbours. Would you pick best stadium? Can you get these plans, they don't have to happen now. If you're in a franchise system, you can get the local council and say, we will build in between Whitehaven and Workington and Barrow this stadium. It's got the plans, we're going to get them passed. All that can be applied. You don't have to have a stadium. People go, you have to. No, you don't. You have to have permission and things in place.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm hopes happening, because you know what? It could be sensational, Mick. If they get it right, and we do get it right, it could be sensational. But I think we're going to lose some clubs. Yeah. And let's be honest, that's not a bad little indicator. 4,000 is not asking a lot for professional sports.
I think it's bang on. Bang on.
You get and what money would they get in Super League B? 600,000?
We don't know, Craig. We don't know.
Well, if you're cutting the pie on an A and B, if the A want to stay at 1.6, say, then you've got, where do you find the rest of the money floating about for the Super League B? So I would say that the A would have to be, unless you got a new deal, would have to be 1.4. So they'll probably lower that and give the Super League B X amount to what comes left in the pie.
I think it'd be more like 200-300.
Wow.
That's if we're going for two divisions of 10, 2 divisions of 12.
Would Cornwall make it in?
No.
You don't think they would? They've had 1,000 fans in the bottom of the... Well, they're now not, but the bottom of the league.
I know you like Cornwall, and I respect that, but sadly not. It'd be a no for mine.
1,000 fans when they're bottom of the league first year.
I just cannot see Cornwall attracting those numbers. To answer Craig's question,
there's an end to this answer, because you can't throw something in, you're going to lose something, so we're going to do it proper. You can't say I want Cornwall in, but then we can only fit 20 teams in.
Yeah.
So you're going to lose, how many we got in the 3 leagues? How many
37.
teams? Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's what you saying we're going to lose 17.
I'm not saying you're going to lose 17. The original plan was the teams that aren't in Super League A, Super League B, or Super League 1, Super League 2, the 2 divisions of 10, they're going to an unfunded 3rd division, which effectively is amateur, because if they're not getting any central funding, yes, they'll still sell season tickets, and the owners, a couple who I've spoken to, have said, well, we're not getting that much money from the RFL anyway, so I'd be happy to put a bit of the profit from one of my businesses in to try and get out, because what they've said...
But do they shut the door on him winning B? They'd have to leave that door open,
No, there would be, yeah. So there'd still be...
They've said
there'd still be one up, one down.
Ah, right.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be a closed shop, Craig. But again, if we
could spend 3 years building and the unfunded 3rd tier, initially there was loads of panic, but the money that League One clubs got this year
with nothing.
You're talking
it's next to nothing anyway. They might as well be unfunded.
So I don't think if 4 sponsors took in $5,000, they're back to level anyway. Yeah. So any club in that 3rd tier who wants,
as long as they don't close that door, it's perfect, then, isn't it?
And what Keithley did this year, Keithley could have done that in 2 years' time and done the same thing and got in. So it's still going to be down to, if you want to chuck the money in and have a go, you might have 1 year destroying everybody, like Lee have done this year, but that's the only way to do it.
What's the point of franchising then if you're still going to leave that door open?
Because it sorts it out quicker.
It sorts it out quicker.
It doesn't make much of a difference.
To me, you get the correct clubs in the correct divisions to start with.
It's their way of getting rid of who they don't want more than getting in who they do want as much as anything.
But franchise historically has never allowed promotion and relegation.
Yeah, that's...
They have to have a 3-4 year period, then they might... What they do is they call it...
I said licensing, not
cleanse
franchise.
They try and get what they want, and then they'll go back to a competition once they think they've got the right... NRL historically have never gone back to it because they said they're only putting in what they want in.
All the American leagues, obviously... The thing is, if you finish bottom, it's not meant to be the end of the world. It's meant to be that you can build for 3 years, and then that's what would help all the young kids.
I know, but the problem is promotion and relegation is entwined in British sporting culture, and Sky, BT Sports, they all want it because it does attract the audiences. It does that jeopardy is what sells those them fixtures at the bottom.
And
then you're still going to have that panic then, aren't you? If you're wakey, you're shitting yourself all year again.
I view it like this. I view it more being, let's say they go over 2 10s. There's no reason why you can't have an odd number in a league. They get fixated with even numbers. I view it being, if you have a 2 10s and then we have the unfunded 3rd, let's say Swinton go big. They can apply under the licensing and make a case that they get added. So then it might be 10 and 11. They might say, well, you don't have to go, Wakey. You've had a shit year, but we're protecting you. But they can add one in. NRL have built up.
A lot of legals, wouldn't they, on
but
that?
the NRL have built up from 12 to 13 to 14 by allowing club. Everyone in the game thinks it would have been far better if Lee had started the season the way they got to halfway through, since halfway everyone said just get Lee in Super League. If Lee had done that at the start of the year, then they could have got in there and the Championship would have been miles better. What we don't want is another year like we've had in the Championship this year.
I suppose it's hard because I can remember when we were at Donny, you know, you've got 3 hats on, so you sat there and you're saying, I don't want Lee because the best in comp. But then Lee bring 1,000 to your ground and you're doing somersaults because you're thinking it's just saved your life.
Right.
Now you can get a club who's nice and easy competition, but they bring 50. You're devastated. If you ever, regardless of result, if you're sat there and you're putting what I were putting in, you're wanting as many fans. We had 3 paydays at Doncaster. One were all friendly. Yeah. I think we got 3,000. I think it was like 23 grand profit. We couldn't believe it because it just like everything else, you're losing 20 grand every time you open doors. But there were certain fronts you got. Widnes Cup. Now they brought fans in them days. Widnes brought a lot of travelling fans. We were absolutely buzzing. So your accountant's smiling, you're smiling. Yeah. So it's not just. I bet you some teams have needed Lee because Lee might bring. Do you know what I mean? 3 or 4. I don't know. Yeah,
2,000.
Bring a lot of supporters.
Some of them,
that probably saves your life.
Right.
I'm sure they do it at every club. At the start of the year, you pin out 4. You go right. We need to make sure we get these figures for this budget on the budget. Yeah. So your problem would be is if you did that, you've got to. We keep going back to numbers, but you probably got to look at it, haven't you? How Bradford have historically been a lot. People love Bradford around Championship selfishly because they do travelling numbers. Well, they did historically. Yeah. So they always wanted Bradford in there because all them other smaller clubs were like, bang, Bradford come with 2,000.
No, but even now, even this year with the poor season that Bradford have had, you know, Dewsbury's biggest crowd of the season at home has been against Bradford. Halifax's biggest game at home has been against Bradford, you know. So Bradford still, even after the season they've had, they're still travelling in significant numbers. And, you know, if the season hadn't has been as a car crash as it is, you know, you can probably double the away support. But look, it's going to be interesting to see what happens because nobody who I've spoken to this morning knows what the structure's going to be. They just know that the licensing's coming back and they don't know what the structure's going to be. They don't know, you know, people are saying it might be radical change, it might just be...
What's the difference between... You mentioned it's not franchising. What's the difference between franchising and licensing?
Well, a franchise is like, you'd say, right, we're going to put Cornwall in, we're going to put North Wales Crusaders in. I spoke to someone at IMG, must be about 2 months ago.
Licensing,
and they said,
licensing
licensing is, it'd have a strict criteria, licensing.
What's
so you'd have to meet
what
it.
Would be
there'd be certain points, Joe. So, for instance, franchising, IMG.
Wouldn't franchise have that anyway, though?
No, franchising. No, because franchising could be IMG could put £20 million and create a club in Scotland or Edinburgh and say, right, these are the Edinburgh Eagles. These are in. That's a franchise.
I've always thought licensing is like having a license, and it's like you can give and take it away. You licensing means like a
effectively,
legal,
yeah. But if you don't meet the minimum standards, and this is what when I've spoken when we were up at St James's Park not so long ago. And I was speaking to IMG. I just said the problem the sport of rugby league has always had is it says we're going to do franchising like they did in 2009 when there was the 3-year cycle. Obviously, Widnes replaced North Wales, and then they had their 3-year cycle under Dennis Betts. You know, we've had all this change, but there's never been an adherence to minimum standards. I remember Wakefield. I'm not picking on Wakefield here, but Wakefield in '98 when they beat Featherstone and got promoted, they said we're going to play at Barnsley, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. You know, I know the main stands come down now when they're finally trying to upgrade the facilities, but we can't have a situation like Jimmy says, you know, clubs playing in these ramshackle stadiums because the broadcasters don't want it. That's why Sky have not shown a Wakefield Trinity home game this year. Michael Carter knows it.
By the way, I went there last week, and have you seen what they're doing?
Yeah, the main stands now.
Have they got the picture of it? I've never seen it. I can't believe it. So I went to the game. I looked over. The car parks all now sand and thingy.
Yeah, all gone.
There's going to be sand. There's going to be Nando. It is going to be unbelievable.
And that's
and the picture I've got, because Michael gave me permission to take it. The flying. There was about 60 workmen on it, like machines flying, and I'm like, wow, this is happening. Yeah. If the council had put, I think the council had put 60-70% of the financial, they've matched them, and it's going to happen. So it's Wakefield, to be fair. Do they know something? You know, again, do they get told, listen, you're not in Super League A if you don't do this? And they've gone, imagine going to council after all them years and going, we're going to be in Super League B if we don't get this. Yeah. And they've gone, right, if you can guarantee that, you know, I bet there's been loads of talks going off, Mick, behind people saying what you want and what you want. Do you know what's interesting for me? The big interest for me is, I'm not calling out, let's Richard Doulas keeps getting topically putting things about Toulouse and Durati texts me. I think Rich finds it a bit of fun. You know, he's a bit. I probably disagree with Rich completely on this one. He needs to tell me off, even if this comes out, I'm going to get the text like bang bang. But did you watch the French Young'uns the other day with Catalans? Yeah. If that's actually happening in the period of which Catalans have been in Super League, and the reason Catalans got in Super League is because
that's franchising.
They got ring fenced. They can't come out of it.
Yeah, that's franchising.
You've got it. That's franchising. Toulouse, if that could happen, if you could put a team of young lads against Wigan Warriors who held their own, you know, score whatever, but actually competed.
For the first 20 minutes. Yeah.
Frightening that what could be achieved in that country. I'd be, honestly, Mick, if it were me, I'd be slinging Toulouse right up there. If they've got the stadium, and you've famously, you know, fell off the whatever. You look at Toulouse. Do you not want Toulouse guaranteed in there? Now, and if Toulouse lost B licence, would Toulouse want an A licence? Let's say A and B. But Toulouse, for now, for me, I'd settle on B. I'd be saying to Toulouse, B's good. Yeah, You've got 3 years to improve this. If you get to this stage, we can look at A.
Well, I've got another one for you. What about the actual French League One league of teams there? Because apparently they're doing better and better each year.
Right.
They're growing and growing.
Well, it's fantastic, isn't it? So I never thought I'd be able to watch 18 young lads from France to compete against Wigan.
Yeah, but I mean, in the French league alone, they're saying loads of money's getting pumped into there. Obviously, the likes.
Well, that's scary for us.
Well, hopefully,
because they're asking Toulouse to go stay with them. We don't want Toulouse. We want Toulouse on our side.
Go back a couple of years, and the French League One clubs had a clear pathway to get into League One.
Yeah.
And there was Carcassonne at the time, were very much saying, we win the champ, our plan is to get into League One. We've applied, we've had the go-ahead, and then they try and do another Toulouse, and then next time there's another French team doing it, and which I think is a great route to go.
Do you know the exciting thing is, when we did franchise last time, and I don't know whether this were right, Mick, you tell me whether that, you have actually got the chance of, if it's done on business plan and done on growth and expansion and all the things they talked about, you'll definitely get a doubling, a car, you know, somebody might go here, we've got a chance here, 2-year plan to put an application for a licence based on this franchise. That could be a game changer, because the other way, it's to do the leeway, probably put 2 or 3 million in. And he's still not guaranteed, but in franchising you are guaranteed. So if you go along now and let's say I'm sat in, we've dreamt about this one, Harrogate Rugby League, and we go, what a place, we've got the football pitch, how much did it carry, 6,000, whatever it is now, we've got 6,000 facility, we've got car park area, we've got training pitches, everything's in place. We put an application in, we want to wait 24 months or whatever, 12 months, we've got everything, but we're going to make sure we've got sponsors, we've got squad, we've got a youth development. Do you get me? Yeah. That makes it quite attractive for you to go and do that. Because other than you said, I'm going to get a team for next year, plough 400 grand of my own money, do you get me?
Yeah.
I think there could be, for me, everything will be on what that nest egg is, whether it's a success. So if the Super League B is not over 400,000, you're probably looking at a break point there of how much you need it to be. So I'm Sky TV, Premier and Channel 4, and I'm cutting the cake of what games we'll watch. So I've got Sky A, and I've got, how many games does Sky A do, Mick? How many games does Sky do?
In a season?
Three a week. So
they do about 68.
68. So we're hopefully thinking it'd be 48 Super League A, and the rest would be Super League B. And between them, then they do all the coverage.
Yeah.
It's what you diversing your payment off that, what they take. But I think for it to be a good watch and really competitive, they're going to have to throw a bit at it, aren't they?
Yeah.
So what would a championship club spend? You've got League probably spending and don't quote us on this, we only have
we know what Leah's spending, 1.4.
Right, then you've got Fed.
1.1, 1.0, yeah.
That will kill you, they're spending about 500.
Featherstone.
Yeah, that's what they say. They said they're only spending 6 or 7,000.
Let's not mention clubs then. We get everybody on saying.
I'm sorry.
What I'm saying is we've got all these clubs, right? So if they got that given by how much do Championship clubs get at the moment?
Between 120 and 250.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Right.
But that's only because the Sky deal has gone down.
Before that, it was up.
It was up, yeah. Yeah, you'd be getting
50%.
You could have. There were Championship clubs historically getting 650.
So they're going to need something like 300 or 400 just for a break-even point, aren't they?
Yeah.
To make it a success.
Correct. But this is it. This is why Wednesday the 28th will be next week actually, because IMG deliver the blueprint to the RFL next week. You know, the clubs find out on the 28th. But it's next week when the blueprint actually gets to the RFL. And I think they already know the direction of travel, which is going to be licensing. And it's just going to be whether or not it's 210s, 212s, or they might decide, right, we're going to have licensing and Super League's going to 14.
What's bad about with 212s?
I don't know. The only thing we don't like is the money gets spread further. So the top clubs are like, no, we still
the
don't.
Clubs, as Ralph and Simon...
people argue for 212s.
And Ken said, the clubs still have to vote this through. So my theory and thinking is, for this to get voted through, there has to be enough meat on the bone to get the Super League clubs to agree to it. Knowing that if they go to 210s, 2 are going to drop down into that second lot B. And there'd still have to be, like you say, a significant amount of funding.
We would, because if you think about players, and we can speak on players, that's what we do. Your top 10% of players, Mick, if that Sky only went down at 80 licence and they didn't get, they'd be off. Our top players would be off like a shot. That directly, and people say, oh, it won't. It would. Of course it would. Because the Australian market's going up. So automatically you'd want to, do you get me? You would want to push that up automatically because you sat there and, Big Mike's here. He's we've got to automatically push that up. Otherwise, your top 10% of players are going to go to NRL, where the average wage is
union
180 or union. So I suppose they've got to make sure we don't take enough cream off that top end, or you're going to have big trouble. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you don't.
And that's fair argument, isn't it? They're like, well, we'd love to give them more, but we can't, because if we don't have it, we're going to lose the players, and the standard of the top comp's going to go down. But I just think with the licensing, there's going to be. How they weight it is massive. But if you go through now, if we went through who's in Super League and who were hanging on in Super League, who's in the Championship, and you look at, I don't want to pick out Batley, but I'm going to. Batley are a club that, performance-wise, would be in that second tier, no doubt about it, because of what I've done over the last few years.
Correct.
But you worry about Batley in every other category, because geographically, they're right in the thick of it. Attendances are not amazing. Backing, and you'd worry about them. Now, if their focus is geographical growth, generally, the clubs who are a bit further out don't get the fans. And the trade-off is always going to be, do we go for the fans and who we think can grow, or do we put the trust that London, whose performance this year has been really long, do we stick with London and say, yeah, but if they get back up, they can get 5,000? Or do we go, well,
historically, they didn't get many 5,000s in the top bracket, did they?
But do any of us here think they're going to let London go?
No.
So then you're going to be stuck with this.
Can we do Batley, Dewsbury, and Hunslet as one?
But this is my point.
West Yorkshire franchise.
But my point is, they're not going to want London to go. You could see
Batley and Dewsbury maybe as like a...
They're not going to want London to go. So they need to come up with a licence that protects London and protects Newcastle. And if they come up with that, then things like fans in stadium, they're going to have to say it don't count that much. That's a problem.
This is what they did last time. They did it and got lawyers to go through it, and the lawyers were picking out things where you could get challenged. And it ended up being such a difficult thing to understand. Listen, we'll leave it on this. There's going to be some upset people. Yeah. There's going to be historic things that have been there for all the 100 years that are going to be absolutely aghast. What we all realise, what we all love is the sport comes first. That the sport has to come first. And if your historic club have got a Challenge Cup winning 1924, but you're not at that now, that's the way it is. Simple. That's life. That's any business. Do you know when I was a kid, Mick, some of the most successful businesses in Doncaster, we were brought up, everyone were either employed by Pitt, ICI, Case, which were called harvesters, they meant the tractors. So there were 4 or 5 industries that run the full town. I think there's only one left. Look at the rugby league. Unfortunately, I can go, oh, they were brilliant like 30 years ago. It were brilliant what happened. Now, the biggest employer is Amazon. So get on with it, shut up, and get on with your life. So I think we need IMG to be that cold and that plain, and I think that's the way to do it.
And I think based on Ralph and Karen's departure, they are just accelerating it. They are accelerating it.
No, you just nailed it.
Yeah.
Think about that now. I was thinking, what positive is Ralph and Karen going? They would be Ralph had been a historian of the game. He'd be protective. Can you imagine IMG lads with tight shirt? God, listen, mate, I'm not bothered about any history. This is what makes businesses. Ralph, take your so-and-so tie off. Get your gone. We're going to go through this like shit through water. You're not going to put it through a thingy. And if they are, that what you've just said, just now breaking news, could be the first thing of what they're going to do. They've gone, no old school here. This is going to be...
Yeah, like I say, Craig, at one club I spoke to before we started the show, they're saying, licensing's back, we just don't know the structure. Everyone's trying to down this, what's the structure going to be? How many clubs are potentially going to be in this new restructure of the sport? Nobody knows.
And the only thing with that is, let's take Cumbria's hard, because some people go, oh, stick Cumbrians together. They're like 2 hours apart from each other. You might as well stick Newcastle with a Yorkshire one in terms of that.
Correct.
But if you were to take the Manchester ones, let's say you get Rochdale, Oldham and Swinton. I'll put Oldham in Manchester. Let's say you say, right, the fans are going to be like, I'm not going watching them. You have that. But ultimately, there isn't enough of them anyway. So if IMG go, we have now got the Manchester Lions, not to use Swinton's name, but we've got a Manchester team. They're going to have to accept that between those 3 clubs who've got 5,000 fans, they might lose 2,000 and go, well, my time's up. But it doesn't matter, as horrible as it is, because for them to have a chance, they need 5,000 new fans.
Correct.
It's what we run about with the Big Bash. Rugby League needs new fans.
Correct.
And if you have to do something like that, I've got kids now who I coach who were football. It dominates, and it's dominated for years, and it's had a bad effect on other sports because it's been allowed to dominate so much. Next thing, they're turning up in cricket shirts because of the 100. And they're supporting brand new teams. Yes, they're based at Headingley and Old Trafford.
Northern Chargers,
They're brand new teams, but young people are in.
Perfect, agree.
And rugby's got to follow. There's no sport rugby needs to follow more than cricket, because what they did with 2020 and now the 100, rugby have got to follow that a bit and say, we can't keep everyone happy, and we can't keep someone, and I feel sorry for him, if there's someone been watching Dewsbury for 50 years and they get merged with Batley, let's say, or they make a new team, it's horrible for them, but for the long term...
Well, and there's still rugby league fans, hopefully they've still got a rugby league fan.
It's tribal, we know that.
Somebody said to me, there's not going to be a team now, and I said, I've got a bit of a monk on, but within 3 months, if I love the sport, I'd still find the next place I could watch it. You wouldn't, eventually
and hopefully most will.
You'd get over it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Right, we'll leave it there, Michael.
Yeah.